on this program do not necessarily represent those of Revive FM or its management.
Good evening and welcome to the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyer Show. Hope you're well. It's a bit drizzly and rainy outside, but how are you keeping, John?
Very well, thank you. And trying to tiptoe through the raindrops.
Right.
It's challenging.
I'm singing in the rain.
Yeah.
Well, what are the wonderful guests we've got on tonight then?
Tonight, Matt, we've got Naomi Gallery Smith back from last week.
Yes.
And thanks to Conde Nast School of Design and Fashion, Rona Adieu, stellar photographer, and Madeleine Guinet, journalist and podcaster, again from Conde Nast School of Fashion. And Zoe Souter, thank you ever so much.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, I can see all the lovely people in front of me now, so that's great. Now, so did you want to start with? Well, let's start with the college itself. I mean, where does that name come from, Conde Nast?
Well, Conde Nast is part of the Vogue family, but the Conde Nast family, 1890 something, and they have that up and coming new fashion magazine called Vogue. I think it's going to be a hit. In countries, and Conde Nast Traveler and Vanity Fair, everything that they do is well in fashion lifestyle, and they kind of went into, if we're doing all of this in the world of fashion design, traveling, let's do a school. Right. And next to Central St. Martin's, UAL. Who Morris, our close supporter, is part of the board on. Yeah. I find Conde Nast to be the really head and shoulders and really the more positively aggressive college into where the world is now. And saying that, Naomi, going back to last week of what we were talking about in the cancel culture and that donut thing as we go into social media, where do we leave off?
Well, in the last week there has been a little bit of a ruffle on social media. How would you say, a influencer has recently come out and said that people need to get off their asses.
Oh, do you mean one of the K people?
One of the K people.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. And they need to
work. Thank you, Madeline. Yes.
Yeah, they need to work because people don't want to work these days, and that's why they're poor, or something like that. And the internet's been a little, when I say a little, I'm under exaggerating. It's been very, very upset with this statement.
Right. I mean, that seems overtones of what was it? Molly May said something about to you on social media.
Yeah,
similar sort of thing, but she was saying that you're not going to get anywhere unless you work hard, more or less.
Well, actually, yes, and the British Fashion Council distanced themselves, and that's a good point, Matt and Naomi. The BFC distanced themselves from what she said, and I just, it's a word. I mean, my days with Andy Warhol and Lou Reed, half the people, even popping up the stairs, we were talking about flatmates and whatnot. I talked about Iggy Pop as my flatmate. You couldn't even publish that now.
Yeah. Well, in those days, walking on the wild side was something you could easily do without getting robbed, wasn't it?
Exactly. Or beaten up or anything else. And speaking of the wild side, as a photographer, Rona,
yes,
we had an earlier conversation about what you've done as a shooter, as a director, assistant director, and Halsey came up. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
I was very fortunate throughout my music video career to work with a lot of great big artists. Halsey was one of them. There were several others. And it teaches you a lot about communicating with another talent, someone who's creating their own art. You really have to learn how to communicate your own ideas, but also get their ideas across. It's a very collaborative process. And I found that to continue on through photography as well. Whenever I do it, especially with music artists now, you have to be very precise about the way that you're going to represent them, because you're showing their personality as well as your own through whatever you create.
Excellent. And following up on that, and as telling a story, which makes me think of a journalist, and going into podcasting, Madeline, how can you add to Rona's comment?
Well, I think probably, I think these days there are so many outlets that you can use as a creative person, whether you're a photographer or even a model, like, our two guests today. And I think podcasting is one of them, because it's accessible to anyone, really. Anyone can start a podcast these days. You just upload your content online, and then a lot of people can access it, which I think is something really amazing of our time. And that's why I decided to start my own podcast, because I had been listening to podcasts for a while, but I always thought it was strictly for, like, big journalists. And I was like a new journalist, you could say, a newcomer in the journalism industry. And then I found podcasts, which gives me this outlet to talk about a passion of mine, which is fashion and fashion careers. So that's why I started this podcast called I Work in Fashion, where I discuss fashion jobs, but I try to make it towards people who want to work in the industry but maybe don't know where to start and how to get there. And so I give them the possibility to learn from people who have made it into the fashion industry, whether it is through them talking about their career or the advice that they've learned. And I think that's something that anyone can do these days. Is if there's something you're very passionate about, podcasting is a great way to share that with the world, if you will.
So you would encourage our listeners to jump into podcasting,
yes,
and
absolutely.
Rona, you would encourage them to take photos.
100%. I think you don't even need a professional camera to be able to do that. You can go get a film camera, you can use your iPhone. It's just about looking at the world and kind of seeing things that you might not have noticed before, you don't even pay attention to.
Okay, well, staying on photos, and I'm going to bring up Canon, who is the official supporter worldwide of Modem Q, and thank you again, Team Canon. Rona, we were talking earlier with Naomi now on what she's looking to do in her entree into modeling, and the different looks the agencies are wanting, and how would you go about lighting, reportage, close-ups? What would it be? So Naomi's here. We are putting her forward as a model with several of the global agencies. And we spoke earlier about having you do a test. How would you take us through your test with Naomi?
For me, how I would do it is I would want to know who she is as a person and how she wants to brand herself. I actually think a model saying who they are is really important because it shows their personality. And I found that I've been more attracted to models who have a personality, have something they want to show on camera, rather than just kind of sticking to the guidelines or the norms that they think they have to stick to. So it's a collaborative process for me. And I want to know how she wants to represent herself. And then I would go about kind of building a story around that, maybe creating a bit of a narrative. And then I would go into thinking about the lighting, what kind of clothing I'd want her to wear, where would I want to place her, so that every element kind of brings strength to her rather than diminishing her.
I mean, that's probably not quite easy because fashion, you associate with visual sort of concept. So if a person's telling you, what they like in fashion, I mean, it must probably not that easy to, in fact, express that in words.
I don't think it is at all, but I think that's why you have to really know how to visually represent yourself, especially now with Instagram taking over, TikTok taking over. Everything is so social. You have to really think about your branding now, which isn't always the easiest, and it can be sometimes very exhausting. But that is going to be how you really get people to see you. And I found it to be a struggle, but also really rewarding because it puts you in contact with so many people. You connect with so many people. It can be a really beautiful platform.
So when you were doing your assistant directing and touching on the music video side, and then really more embracing on the shooting side of the camera, what was the segue for you?
I think with music videos, I really realized that you have to truly devote yourself to your art. You have to give it everything that you have. And for me, music videos was a beautiful form of art. However, it led me into photography and realizing that I think I had to do music video in order to realize that as a photographer, I'm a narrative storyteller. So I'm able to bring that
Excellent.
aspect into my photography.
Excellent. Then we have to thank Rankin, part of our extended family, and the Abbey Road Music photographic competition that he's doing. And you should definitely put yourself forward. And
Yes.
I'll send you a link, or we can find it on modemq.com on what we can do for the music, fashion, visual shooter out there. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do you remember that old music video by Visage, Fade to Grey? It's quite
Yes. Yes.
groundbreaking when it first came out. I still remember that. It's a really fantastic video.
I usually get fade to gray when I'm sitting in a barber's chair and going, God, John, you're not blonde anymore. I go, no, I'm not. I just turned gray. So from a journalistic point of view, Madeline, and taking Rona's, okay, so she's shooting. Naomi's coming up next and explaining what she would look to experience from Rona. How would you turn that into a podcast as a young new journalist, and what you've learned from Conde Nast School? How would you go forward?
What I think, one thing about art, and as you were saying, Rona, about how everyone kind of like represents their own kind of art, and that it obviously leads your career. I would probably, I mean, I quite like the idea that on a podcast you could get guests from different countries or different like social backgrounds and even ethnical backgrounds, you could say, and everyone has their own story, and probably will talk about art and what it means for them in different ways. And so I think as a journalist, I would like to explore this aspect of art as like an individual thing, really. And so for you, I think it would be really cool to learn about obviously how you went from like videography to photography, but also learn about how you art and how you see art, and what art means for you, and how that basically has taken you from videography to photography. I think that's how I would go about it, from like a very individual perspective.
That's excellent. Now, flipping back to Naomi, last week we had an interesting conversation where you're actually into gaming and creating gaming, and kind of as a side thing, soon to be a main thing of modeling, which Roan is going to be doing some shooting. Madeline will interview on her podcast. How do you, putting cancel culture aside and that donut thing and the K people, how do you segue from your gaming and what you're doing now into segueing into your next now as a model?
It's difficult. It is very difficult because gaming, the gaming industry is more of my education. It's a career I'd like to go down, but also modeling has always been a career I've wanted to go down since I was little. So considering they're both very, very different careers, I still want to pursue gaming, but obviously modeling is the dominant one out of the two.
So that's the one that keeps you awake at night.
Yes.
So now, inspirations. Rona, I'm going to flip this back to you. Outside of your dipping your toe in that music video water, and you now understanding, and you're looking at shooting and stills. Who's been your inspirations, and whose eye would you admire now and move into the future on?
One of the biggest inspirations for me has actually always been Helmut Newton. His photography has outlasted everyone's for me. Just the way that he saw the female side of the world and how he wanted to empower them, the composition that he created, the lighting he chose. He had such a unique eye, and I think I've always taken that into every photo I've taken. But I also really have been inspired by people like Stephen Meisel or Stephen Klein, or even Harley Weir now. She's a younger photographer, but she's really left a mark on me. And I think it's because all these people they do tell stories with their art. Everything is very narrative for them. And I think that's why I'm always drawn to those kind of photographers.
That's excellent. And also letting our listeners know, one of Helmut's muses, Sylvia Goebel, still a friend of ours, that very famous shot of the 4 women in couture outfits on the left side of the camera. On the right side, they were completely nudes. Sylvia is the one on the far right. And she hasn't changed a bit after all these years, I got to say. And a dear friend of ours, represented by Silver Models in Paris. And hopefully we're going to be seeing her soon when we can travel and not have to wear our Batman costumes and masks and whatnot. And it's really interesting that you say of Helmut, because when I met him, it was very avant-garde. And going back to my day, as Matt knows, in my film school, in my film college at NYU, our dissertation was shooting the Elite Model Look of the Year contest, where a young 16-year-old girl who wouldn't get rid of a mole from Chicago came in third. And Cindy and I are still friends, and her daughter takes after her mom. And it's really... Yeah, it's really been a small world. Now, Madeline, if you were to interview them, how would you start your conversation there?
If I were to interview Cindy Crawford and her daughter?
Yes.
Yes. I think probably I would start by asking maybe how... I don't know, maybe how Cindy, whether or not, I guess she enforced the modeling industry into Kaya, but more as a joke, because it feels like Kaya is basically doing everything that her mom is doing, but obviously in 2020s, you could say. And so maybe I would ask them how Kaya was influenced by her mom, but also how Cindy is influenced by her daughter's take on the fashion industry, because you could say that obviously they're following the same path, but it's completely different decades. And so I'm guessing that they must have opinions on how each of them is, choosing the fashion show to walk at, or the cover to do. And I would probably ask them about how they give each other their opinion and advice on that. Yes.
Great. So then, Naomi, not to be cheeky, you would advise Kaya not to go into cancel culture.
We're just going to go to the next break, John. Okay. Yeah. We'll come back.
We'll come back with that question then.
Come back with a great question for Naomi when we come back. Okay, stay with us, please.
Let's connect with the Holy Quran. Minhaj Dawah Project distributes the Holy Quran in plain simple English for free. You can donate £3 and sponsor a Quran to a loved one, a neighbour, a colleague or a friend. We distribute Qurans totally free of charge across the whole UK, including in prisons. Please call us now to contribute on 0300 030 1951 or email us on dawah@minhajuk.org.
Taj Grill invites you to the world of Pakistani cuisine. With every dish prepared to perfection, why not try our sizzling mixed grill, our famous masala fish, or choose from our selection of freshly made curries and allow the Taj Grill experience to speak for itself. Visit us at 72 Ilford Lane or 508 Ilford High Road, or call 0208 262 6476. We also offer catering for all your events. Call us for more information.
A Sadqa Jariyah unlike any other. This year, Allah has blessed us with the incredible opportunity of illuminating the interior of the Dome of the Rock Masjid. the exact place where the Prophet ﷺ was ascended into the heavens. This new lighting system will illuminate the central areas inside the Dome of the Rock. Gain the reward of praying in Masjid Al-Aqsa and give today. Visit muslimhands.org.uk.
With over 40 years experience in the industry, Plachette Carpets is the place to go for all your carpets, laminates, linos and wood flooring. We have an established network of suppliers, which means we can offer some of the best prices in town. We offer free estimates, free measurements and now even free fitting. Call us now on 0208 472 8568 or visit us at 157 Plachette Road, Upton Park, London, E13 0QZ.
Waris Food Store, the place to go for all your meat and groceries. We stock thousands of items from fresh fruit and veg to all your favourite Ramadan food products. Based at 420 Hoe Street in Walthamstow, we can deliver anything you need right to your doorstep. Just give us a call on 0208 521 0000. Waris Food Stores is now also available on Uber Eats.
Through your hands, we can shape the future. By supporting an orphan, by quenching someone's thirst, by empowering people through life-changing livelihood projects, by responding to those in urgent need. The future lies in your hands. Muslim Hands, united for the needy.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk or contact our sales team now on 07944 565616. That's 07944 565616. Advertise with Revive FM.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
On your mobile.
And online.
And welcome back to the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyer Show. And you're just about to ask Naomi a very interesting question, John.
Yes, I was. Naomi, we just spoke to Madeline about how would she interview on her podcast with Cindy and Kaya. And I just asked you, Naomi, before the break, Kaya, cancel culture, how would you tell her which way to go or not which way to go?
Well, I think she's quite smart enough to know to avoid cancel culture altogether. The way of avoiding it is to just not get involved with problematic people, I suppose. But also, I don't know her, so I don't know how I would really voice how to avoid such a thing. But I think it's quite simple. I think it's just keep to yourself on the internet. Any opinions that you think might be kind of out there, just, keep to yourself kind of thing. And that way you avoid the wrath of cancel culture.
Mm-hmm. So it's not the wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And as your mum said, if you have something nice to say, don't say anything.
Yes, exactly.
Anthony Joshua was asked the other day about Ukraine and what, and he said that's a very heavy subject. I can't talk about it.
Somebody asked me what I thought of Madonna years ago, and I said, "How about those Mets? I think they're going to be really good baseball team this year."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. Yep. All right. So you got to be very diplomatic.
Well, you have to be.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, be nice. Look what's happening in the world now. I mean, please, there's enough trauma. It's enough.
You've got to stifle your New Yorker extravagance and flamboyance.
That's why I moved here 22 years ago. I have that politeness of the English, which is why I travel to Paris every two weeks to really enjoy culture. But I won't go into that yet.
Sure.
So, Helmut Newton. Let's go back to Helmut.
What happened to David Bailey, John? I mean, David Bailey was so famous at one time, man.
I knew his wife.
Where's he gone?
Years ago. I don't know. I think he's. I don't know. And when someone asked me that question, I would just let me Google it, and see what we can do.
Right.
And I would say that, but interesting enough, Rona, going back to your comment of Helmut and my days with him, and of course knowing Sylvia, are there any particular, with all of his different shoots, different genres, his lighting, and I believe his wife was also his assistant. Is there any shots of Helmut that you find akin to with your eye as you shoot?
Yeah, absolutely. There are actually two that come to mind. The first one is from that same series that you mentioned with the 4 women, Big Nudes. There is one photo, I can't remember the name of the model right now, but she stands in front of the camera and she's completely naked and it's just in a white studio, but she looks larger than life. She looks like a superhero. And I think that was the second photo I ever saw of Helmut's, and I think I was just floored because I hadn't seen anything like it. And this was when I was first getting into photography. And I was just kind of shocked that someone made that, especially at that time. And he did it so beautifully and effortlessly. And it was also a man behind the camera.
Is that the shot in the Taschen book where she's standing there as a fist in front of her?
Yeah, it's the cover of his book.
Yes, Small World. Jessica Anderson, our executive producer of Mode MQ in Paris, they're friends. And Jess has been a model now well over 20 years, and it's gone from the early days of the Cindy-esque into now as an older model who's now becoming, the older model is now becoming more of the new ingenue rather than us in fashion, us in modeling, grabbing a 14-year-old. And it's my opinion, it's becoming the opposite of the heroin chic days of Kate Moss or the early days of Brooke Shields. Nothing gets in between me and my Calvins, which was scandalous at the time. And now we're just looking at modeling. It's reflecting more on life. It's really reflecting more on life and sizes. Madeline, have you done any, out of curiosity, any podcasting on an older model, a plus size model, a exotic model, or something that is changing now?
Well, actually, no, but I'm in the process of trying to find a model to come on my podcast. So maybe Naomi, you might want to come on later. But I just started my podcast, so I'm definitely
not as the older model, obviously. We're young model.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly. But so I'm in the process of like finding different personalities to have on the show, and not only have one model, but like you said, models from, many different people. Because like I said before, I think everyone has their individual story, and you might have the same job, but obviously you bring something different to it. So I think it's interesting to have people with different personalities on the show, and I'm hoping that I will be able to do that later, and have many different guests, like a variety of guests on my show. Yeah.
I think you should get David Gandy on there.
Yeah.
He'd be a good older model.
If you want to send me a list of guests you want, I take feedback definitely. So yeah,
that'd be great. Now going back to your question on modeling, or your comment on modeling. Now, Naomi, I'm going to flip this question over to you again. As you know, gaming, and this is what you're studying, what you're looking at doing. And you said earlier, before the break, of you modeling is like the number one thing. How have you prepared in the last week, 10 days, and getting that photo out? You know, there's 1 million people, 2 million people outside of leaving Ukraine. God forbid, I hope they're okay or not. And anyway, that's another subject. But there's as many people, fleeing countries as want to be models. And what do you do? What do you think that puts you in front of everyone? And how do you take it to go forward?
That's an interesting question, because everybody has their own little quirks. Everybody has different personalities, different looks. Nobody looks the same. So I can't really say that, what puts me in front of people, because I feel like there's different forms of beauty, especially going into this industry. There's so many different forms of beauty, no matter who you are. I think it's got a lot to do with personality, but also it's a difficult question to answer, because I don't see myself in front of anybody. I see us all as equals, especially going into an industry just as modeling, catwalking, editorial. It's a hard industry. So the best way to look at this is that we're all equal and we all have our little gifts.
That's excellent. Okay, going back to Rona's comment where Helmut Newton was her aspiration, idol, person to look at and see where his eye was, or to take you. Is there anyone in the fashion world that you look after? Model, designer, stylist? Is there anyone that you would be your helmet?
I think one of my inspirations is Hila Klein. She's the designer of Teddy Fresh, which is linked to an original YouTube channel called H3 Productions. She's an Israeli woman, and she lives in the United States with her husband, Ethan Klein. The Teddy Fresh brand itself is really quirky. I love it. It's different. It's colorful. Her designs it's like being in a storybook. And her the company's choice of models, they're always so different. They're so beautiful. They have different quirks, and that's what I love about her. And the brand itself, it's different. I haven't seen anyone really do what she has done with her brand. So she's definitely one of my biggest inspirations.
That's a really good way to go forward, because in the old days, and when I was coming up through modeling and fashion and shooting, and as a visualist, Kate was discovered at an airport. Cindy was discovered at Elite Look of the Year. Models in my day, coming up through the ranks, were kind of just found. It was like, I don't know, when you were a kid, the stork brought your brother or sister. You didn't know about anything else. It was just dropped on your lap. Or now you're looking at,
but also due to talent scouts, they used to have talent scouts going out looking for,
They still do, and well, in the old days, especially when working in Germany with all the different modeling agencies there, which was the biggest catalog modeling agencies that was responsible, like Louisa Models, Hamburg Models, Z Cards, brought all the fashion to Miami in the days of Miami Vice, because it was the cheapest flights and the cheapest places that you could say. And that's how it all started. And now, though, I find, Naomi, in listening to you and Madeline and Rona and what you see that your eye going, it's more of a prep. So it's not just waiting to be discovered. What we've just heard is you're out there putting your look forward. How is that? It's got to be kind of heavy, and it's got to be
difficult.
Yes, heavy prepping.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like okay. So if you looked at Teddy Fresh and said, I would say, in my experience as a visualist, again in fashion, I would look at all the other designers, all the other clients, or the agencies. Who's the model that you most look like, that you emulated? Teddy Fresh.
From the brand?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. If you found someone, okay, here's a case in point. I get, out of my hundreds of emails that we at ModeMQ get every day, Zara women, there is this new women's line that they're doing for spring. And I saw this redheaded girl and I was like, oh my, I haven't seen that look since, she's now an actor. She was in Taken. She was the mother in Taken, and she was in a James Bond.
Was it Susan Sarandon? Was it?
No. It wasn't. It wasn't Susan. Famke.
Okay.
It was Famke, and I haven't seen a girl like. Now we knew who Famke was back in the day because she was a model coming out of Germany, and like my late wife was bored of the catwalk and became an actor. And what Famke did on the James Bond, one of the Bond films, and what she's done in the Taken series, it was wow. How intriguing is that? And this girl I saw, and I said, I haven't seen this face, so I and Madeline and Rona, maybe you guys can help me on this question. I went to Zara PR. And I went to Zara Journalist, and I said, "Hi, it's me, it's us in the business. And who is this model? Who is her agent? Because you always ask for the agent, you never ask for the model. It's unprofessional. So I would like to maybe do a podcast with her, maybe do a shoot, maybe look at a Helpman Newton-esque." And I really found her intriguing, and Zara couldn't help me and just couldn't answer it. They didn't know. And I'm kind of stuck. Madeline, what you had said earlier about how you research and you do your research, and Rona, how you do your research. Someone like me in the business who is heaven's sakes, I'm known, as well as the traffic light is. And how could we at Modem Q go to a Zara and who's the model?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is you probably shouldn't go to Zara first, I would say.
Okay.
Because I think nowadays, one thing I wanted to say also before, when you were talking about how can a model be discovered, is I think it's all about building your own brand yourself. And before I was talking also about Instagram and how powerful that is as like an app where you can put yourself forward and you can use Instagram as a portfolio. So for example, if you wanted to find that model that you saw on like a Zara page, then I think you might have to go through Instagram and put in maybe like hashtag Zara campaign summer 2020, for example, and maybe you will find a model who did the campaign for them and tagged herself in and tagged Zara on her post, and that's how you get noticed, I think, is by using your social media as like portfolio. I think. I don't know if Rana, you can agree with me, or because I'm sure as a photographer you also use Instagram to put your stuff out there, or if you use any other. Or...
What do you think, Rana?
I honestly think that Instagram is the new resume. That's what everyone says.
No.
That's such a good way to put it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really?
If you're a photographer, you put your photos. If you're a model, you put your modeling photos. If you're a designer, you're going to put your clothes.
Wow.
As a journalist, my bio is my portfolio. It's a link to my portfolio. So if you want to find me, even as a journalist, you can go through Instagram. Even though my craft is not like visual, but yet I still use Instagram to promote my work. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's good to know. I'm just going to go for our last break now. I'll be back shortly. Do stay with us.
If you want to advertise your business on Revive FM, then visit www.revivefm.co.uk. Alternatively, contact our sales team now on 079 44 56 5616. That's 079 44 56 5616.
Thinking of selling or letting your property? Need someone reliable to find the best prospect for your home? Well, look no further. Cameron Adams is here to take care of all your needs. Our professional and experienced team will guide you through the entire process and ensure you find the right client for your property. For a no-obligation quotation, contact us now on 0208 558 2000. That's 0208 558 2000. Or visit us at 30 Church Lane in Leytonstone. Cameron Adams, always at your service.
Does your pizza excite you? The London Pizza Depot invites you on a journey with our worldwide inspired pizzas. To the smoke and jerk drums of Jamaica, to savor the Caribbean hot, to sunny California, to enjoy the greatest invention, the Cali cheeseburger. Transport yourself with every bite. Our authentically prepared hand-stretched dough, freshly diced veg, finest cuts of halal meat, and our 100% mozzarella cheese ensures the delivery of a masterpiece every time. Visit www.londonpizzadepot.co.uk or our branches in Ilford or Plaistow. Now you can enjoy buy one pizza, get one free every Tuesday. T's and C's apply.
With over 40 years experience in the industry, Plachette Carpets is the place to go for all your carpets, laminates, linos and wood flooring. We have an established network of suppliers, which means we can offer some of the best prices in town. We offer free estimates, free measurements, and now even free fitting. Call us now on 0208 472 8568 or visit us at 157 Plachette Road, Upton Park, London, E13 0QZ.
This is Aisha. Her father died in an accident at a very young age. She lives with her mother and siblings. There are millions like Aisha who do not have access to the very basics of life, resulting in her and many others not being able to attend school. Through Minhaj Welfare Foundation, your charity is dedicated towards supporting the full needs of orphans and needy children around the world. Donate today. Call us now 0300 3030 777. Or visit us on minhajwelfare.org.
Looking to get your finances in order? MR Accountants has you covered. We provide a full range of accountancy and taxation services, including annual and management accounts, self-assessment tax returns, VAT, bookkeeping, and payroll services. We ensure you're kept up to date with the latest legislation, and our client-focused approach helps us plan your business finances from savings to investments. We are MR Accountants. Visit our website at mraccountants.com or call us on 0203 432 9138.
Let's connect with the Holy Quran. Minhaj Dawah Project distributes the Holy Quran in plain simple English for free. You can donate £3 and sponsor a Quran to a loved one, a neighbor, a colleague, or a friend. We distribute Qurans totally free of charge across the whole UK, including in prisons. Please call us now to contribute on 0300 030 1951 or email us on dawah@minhajuk.org.
Revive FM
94.0. On the radio.
on your mobile.
And online.
And welcome back to the Mahtab Aziz Celebrity Lawyer Show. And this is our last section. We've had a very good and informative and interesting first two parts. And John, you were just touching upon the discovery of these gems, these pearls.
Yes, it's something where I and again old school, and this is why I always hang out with young ones because they keep me young. Not to sound like a vampire, I do go out during the daytime sometimes, usually after 10, which is when I stop drinking coffee. It's where we can really embrace.
Yeah.
As I've said with Zoe, Matt, on how I've done our Zoom tutelages with her students and whatnot, is I would always let the students know to embrace the past. Being an analog guy coming up through fashion into the digital world, I've always said to the students, if, like you said, Rona, about Newton, I would say to the students, if you like Dior, embrace Dior. Saint Laurent, embrace Saint Laurent. Mr. Armani was a window dresser at Riascente before he got the opportunity to create costumes for an up-and-coming Hollywood actor called Richard Gere on a movie called American Gigolo. The rest is history. Calvin Klein got off at the wrong floor at Bloomingdale's on a hot summer day, and the buyer said, I'll take them all. Ralph Lauren out of the Bronx couldn't afford money to create suits, so he made ties. The money from his ties, he created Ralph Lauren. And it's just really, I would always look at how that past and going forward can embrace it. Now into this new world, Naomi, you spoke again on social media. Madeline, if I'm looking for that Zara girl, it's on Instagram. Rona, if I'm looking at who is that new person, I can reverse photo. How could you, and Madeline, I'll start with you. How could you lead us into your peers, my peers, as we go forward? When Rankin and I chat at his Water Aid event that we've been at, and again on the Abbey Road music photographic competition, how we as the old guard, if I may, keep things fresh with people like yourself. And where do you see yourself going forward the next week, 2 weeks, and this month of bringing you as a journalist and your podcasting forward, taking old and new?
Yeah. Well, I think what's good with podcasting in general is that it kind of resembles radio. So it resembles another form of media that maybe older generations are definitely used to. And so podcasting is kind of like radio, but maybe it's it's radio, but it's obviously accessible online and for free and everything. And so I'd say probably my next step forward is to have more people on the show. That's definitely the main one, because I think the more guests you have on the show, the more even listeners it brings, because someone might be very into this model that I might have on the show, and they're going to think, oh, I would love to learn about her life, so I'm going to tune into this podcast. And then, it definitely adds more, like a bigger audience to my show. Another thing that I want to do with my podcast is also to create a kind of like community around the show. So that's why I also have an Instagram account with the podcast. It's at iWork_podcast, where people can ask me questions about guests, for example, or they can give me feedback. And that way, after you listen to a podcast episode, you can go on social media and start a discussion or take your research further, because my podcast is about fashion careers. So I think it's kind of interesting for people to have then an outlet to ask further questions and again take their research further. So I think for me, the next step is also to develop my social media presence, or at least the social media presence of my podcast. Yeah.
That's excellent. There's a song I remember, Matt, Everything Old is New Again. Mm-hmm. So it's all coming back.
Yes.
And the lapels are getting wider. So now, Rona, over to you. Mm-hmm. How are you taking this week, the end of the month, everything going on in the world and going forward? And you as a visualist, and you said earlier, working with Canon, your Olympus is in the shop. Let's hope it's well and doesn't have COVID.
It'll be fine.
Good. And so where are you going to take us? Take you and share with us, how are you going forward in the next week or so?
I am definitely going to be shooting. I think the only way to really just get out of my head and to just take action is to shoot. And I think with my art, especially, the two things that I really want to look at and focus on are liberation and body language. Those are the two things that have really started to inform my art. The way, I want to make people feel very free and liberated from everything when they look at my art. And I think the way to do that is through body language.
You sound like one of my aunts from the 60s who burnt her bra, but let's not go there. These days, her cup does filleth over. So anyway, please.
I just think that's probably one of the reasons I was so drawn to nudity. It's because it's the body and that's it. And you speak with it. And I also found myself very drawn to club photography these days, because there's so many characters out there and people just feel so free and alive in a way that they don't necessarily during the day, and just exploring all those aspects and seeing where it leads me.
I should introduce you to a dear friend, Roger Sanchez. Who you could definitely follow him for a week and you'd have your own book. Absolutely excellent. Naomi, flipping over to you as you're starting now in that number one modeling genre that you're looking at doing.
John, can I just clarify one point?
Sure.
Earlier on, we just touched upon talent scouts.
Yes.
And, Madeline, said that, well, Rona also said that Instagram is a very good medium these days to contact. So does that mean that talent scouts have become redundant, or are they still there and alive and kicking? Or
No,
I think
talking. Sorry.
Sorry, go. No, never.
Shoot, no.
Yeah, please, because
I was gonna say. I mean, I think talent scouts are definitely still relevant, and I think still to this day, like models get discovered on the streets. I'm trying to think. Even I actually have a perfect example. He's not a model, but he's an actor. But if you've watched the show Euphoria, this actor Angus Cloud, who plays Fesco in Euphoria, he was discovered on the streets by a talent scout, and now he's acting in like one of the top HBO shows. So that I think it's definitely still relevant. But I think now they're also online, so you can still be a talent scout, but you're definitely going to go through Instagram and like I was to say Twitter.
Yes,
but yeah,
I think again, that's very good, Madeline, because in the old days, Karen Lee from Elite Models, who found Cindy and Linda and the rest of the crowd, your job was to go out there and just follow the college crowd, follow this, follow that. With Instagram, I think people with our expertise and people with our knowledge, and we can reach out to the Valentinos, the Chanels, the Gaultiers, the Mr. Armanis of the world, and all of their team. I find with that expertise, going with your generation and your peers on Instagram, and Naomi, as you said earlier, on social media, I find it's easier for them to get, instead of 200 people, I can get 2,000 people. And really I can go into, now that we have models of color, models of expertise, models of exciting, models of plus models, full models, short models, tall models, foot models.
Did Billy Joel discover Christine Brinkley, or was she already discovered before?
Actually, Billy, when we were on the set of Uptown Girl, when we were shooting that, and Rona, like you, I was one of the assistant directors on that one. Well, you were doing your thing on Halsey. Billy met Christy, and it was, they started dating and whatnot. And the biggest joke
was she was already major.
Yes, she was also she
in
was
the Super League.
Yeah, she was. Johnny Casablancas just coined the term supermodel out of Elite. Christy was with Ford. I believe Joey Hunter at the time was her agent, and the joke was when they got married, and Christy said, "Oh, I'm pregnant. Billy and I are going to have our first child." We all joked and said, "Let's hope the child has her mother's looks and her father's talent. If it's the other way around,
voice.
yeah. Say if it's the other way around, So, that's me in the old days. Naomi, back to modeling and what you're looking at doing this week, and any testing, shooting?
Potentially, yes. It could be a potential shoot with Rona or something, exciting things. You don't really know what the future holds, but I'm hoping, hand on heart, fingers crossed.
Right. Well, you see the beauty of Revive Radio brings talented people together.
Exactly. Well, Rona, if you want to go back to the body, I would look at Paolo Reversi. And
I love him.
Yes, I'm sure you can get a good shot if Naomi on a closed set is cool with that. I'm sure you would get some incredible things. And also have her look at Teddy Fresh. Madeline, why don't we reach out to some of the Teddy Fresh people, share what we've done with Matt, Revive FM, what we're looking at doing. Let's pull some clothes, hair, makeup stylist on a test. You can do the podcasting and the interviews as a journalist. Yes. Rona can shoot. Thank you, Cannon. And then Naomi on Teddy Fresh. It could be, wearing those clothes would give you that element of comfort.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Right.
There you go. The whole package. Let's go.
On that
done deal. Sold.
On that great note, we've run out of time. Time has flashed by, and we've come to the end of the show. It's been absolutely great having Naomi back, as always, and Madeline and Rona. Thank you very much for being our guest today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And thanks to John, of course, for bringing these great people to...
Mon plaisir, je vous en prie, monsieur.
Merci beaucoup. Have a good evening, and that's all for today from Mahtab Aziz Celebrity
Have a good
Show
weekend,
on the
though.
Revive.
Bon weekend.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
ये आयशा है, ये बहुत